I know you've worked in the channel for some time now, but how did you get to working with MSPs? You want to give us like a little bit of a background to yourself
Yeah, of
then?
course. Well, I mean, I guess the route was I set up a fresh out of uni. I did a couple of jobs, was working with like EPOS systems and random stuff like that. But then I had this great idea.
Okay.
Right, we're doing really well at some. It was basically we were selling IT training courses. Do you remember those MCSEs, MCSA qualifications? I don't think
Yeah.
think they're a thing.
I never did any of them, but yeah, I do
like,
remember them.
like all good IT pros. I was involved in sort of selling those as part of a company, and then a friend of mine and I were like, we got this nailed. We're like, what were we, 21? Like, we'll just go and set up a marketing agency, sales and marketing agency in Manchester. So we did that,
Okay.
negotiated some hideous contract terms, rubbish payback on what we were selling. We didn't have a clue. Spent loads of money on advertising and newspapers, did all the wrong thing, shied away from the hard graft
Okay.
of sales and stuff. That all went pear-shaped. I'll spare you all the details, but I ended up getting a job at Zen Internet, at an MSP, sorry, an
Uh,
ISP, and then that opened the door in one way or another to the
okay.
MSP world. And I joined Zen Software, and that was really the turning point. Zen Software, if you think of them, they're kind of like a mini Pax8, I suppose. It was around the days when SBS was a big thing, the SBS user groups and so on.
Okay.
And so I went there and was responsible for the sales and marketing there, and that was a much happier journey. And then I fell in love with sort of video, and it kind of went from there, really.
It's snowball from there. Okay. Cool. All right. So we're going to be talking about your company, MSP Testimonials, on what you do now. I think it's fairly unique in the market. Um, I don't think, I mean, I know there's software platforms out there or software plugins that kind of do reviews and things like that. Do you want to tell us about MSP Testimonials and what it is?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, the nutshell version is I interview people remotely. So I've done an awful lot of interviewing in my time. I've ended up doing all sorts of podcasts and in-person stuff and what have you. So I love two things. I love talking to people and interviewing, but also I love the power of video. So having
Hmm.
finished my role as channel chief at Sales Builder last year, I kind of thought, what's been
Yeah.
working well? Like, I've been doing marketing all my life. What works the best? It's
Yeah.
customers talking, because then it's not a marketing person talking,
Okay.
and that just takes away it's almost like lazy marketing. I feel like it's just, you get it straight from the horse's mouth. And then once you realize that's what you
Yeah.
need, you've kind of got options. Then it's like, well, you can get these apps like you mentioned. So you can get an app and you can say, right, there you
Yeah.
go, Mr. Customer, speak into that, and best of luck to you. Great if you've got
Uh-huh.
people, like perhaps like you and I used to speak into camera and all the rest of it. But just when I think about the
Uh-huh.
amount of coaching that I do on a call, like, I don't know, I just don't know how any of those get any decent results. And then, of course, you've got the other end of the scale where you send a crew out to site, and there's, absolute validity, in my opinion, in doing that sometimes if you want a really highly polished testimonial, but they tend to be
Yeah.
multiple thousands, sometimes 8, 10,000 they can be. And then what you get back
Yeah.
is a super polished piece that goes on the website, and it doesn't, you get one. You don't keep doing them. You don't build a
Yeah. It's
library.
one or two things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that. The talking about getting your clients talking, and that's something I've like just learned recently, like doing this for myself. I've started to take my clients and do like little interviews with them and post them up onto YouTube. Um, and because it's like that from that type of marketing, it's almost like it's like evidence backed marketing. So as opposed to the marketer or the business saying something about their business, it's that it's that evidence. It's like that evidence based marketing. So no, I really love that. And it sounds as though what you're doing, I mean, it's a remote setup. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we kind of we put together a system where we make sure we get the absolute best quality possible. So we coach on the lighting, we coach on getting the settings. We don't use any webcams or anything like that because it just doesn't give us the quality that we need.
Okay.
So a large part of it is like, how can we get the best quality on site and then get people G'd up so they actually want to be on camera? Because I mean, it still happens now. Like, I'll connect with someone and they'll be like, yeah, I'm ready for the interview. This is going to be great. You're like, oh my God, I've got to try and get this person excited. And that's part of the thing is like,
Yeah.
okay, how
Yeah.
can you get them, moving? Um,
So how do you get it moving? Like what techniques do you
Yeah, I mean,
use?
the thing to do, honestly, I'm still learning this now. I've started to
Okay.
introduce a little bit more. I'll hesitate to call it foreplay. It's the bit beforehand, basically, where you just kind of loosen them up a
Okay.
little bit, This is a family show, so I'll leave it there. But basically, we're just trying to get them talking about some of their pastimes. Especially if I find it a little bit easier because often it's the first time I've spoken to them. I don't have like a call before that, so I will just say, hey,
Yeah.
great to meet you. So where are you and what you would do? How a bit like you did prior to this. It's like how's your week going and stuff, and get them talking about something, and then make sure you prep them with, we may go back and do some bits again. So what will often happen is the first bit tends to be them just getting warmed up and stuff. So I'll often say, look, okay, I think you can give me a little bit more than that. That bit was great, but let's just do that again because you've got some gold content in there. But I don't feel like, I can see when we were talking earlier, there was loads more energy in it. And so without it's a fine line because you don't want to put them off, but it's a fine line between, okay, let's just try and be over animated. We always explain that the camera dulls down the energy. So you give it 150% energy. It's a kind of a rule of being on camera and you'll get 100.
Yeah.
So if you give me 100, this is going to look lackluster. So it's kind of getting that across. So there's little things like that. And then of course, letting them know that it's edited. So don't worry about it. We're doing a 45-minute chat and it's going to be 3.5 minutes of footage. So just try and relax. And the results vary, right? It depends who you're talking to, but always there's a decent enough standard to be, at a level where you would want to, put the effort into editing and going further.
Cool. I love that point about the energy. You're right there about the 150%. I don't know if you is it Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yes. He's about 500% energy, isn't he, constantly?
Like his old Wine Library TV videos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you've ever watched him, like the way he starts the video is like he's almost like shouting at the camera. And I've taken that to some of my videos, like just that really high energy, because it's one of the things that I've learned from the doing videos is it does work having that energy. So if you need to put pills in the post as well, you're sending out are you sending out equipment or to these these clients of these MSPs? How does that, from the tech perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly straightforward stuff. So we just make sure what we really want is them to have, using their phone. I try and use the reverse facing camera. Some do it, some don't. The rear camera is always the best.
Okay. Yeah, bunch of
you do. It does create a bit of a weird dynamic though. So there's another element of coaching of because what you'll find is mid conversation, they'll start to their eyes start to wander. They're sort of they're sort of talking, thinking wistfully, looking out the window. You're like, hang on a minute, I need you back at the lens. So there's that, but yeah, just I tend to send out sort of standard tripod equipment. Sometimes we send out lights and sort of wireless mics and that sort of stuff, but we're still sort of refining it right now. But keeping it super simple is the thing. That's the key, because these people are not, it could be. I mean, I interviewed a lady at an autism charity recently, so they're not into the tech at all. They just want this to be simple and get it over with. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just think, I know, there's the pills. I think the other thing you could send out is a couple of these little sticky gobbly eye things that you can attach to things so they can put them on their phones. So
that's actually a really good idea. Something at least to stick on there. Something would be good. Yeah.
Okay. So I understand though, because obviously I've seen some of your work on sales building, interviews that you're doing. You're really good at interviewing people and getting the information out of them. I know before, a couple of weeks ago when we first met, and just the types of questions you were asking me, I thought, James is really listening here. And I was just babbling on. So I can see how your skill kind of just, it works so well with the setup that you have. Back in my mind though, and certainly when, I mentioned that I've started doing little client recordings on YouTube where I'm interviewing them. The back of my mind, it's like there's this awkwardness about asking my clients for a testimonial or getting them on camera. And I'm sure this is probably everyone that you speak to, there's probably this little belief system or assumption or something that you have to help them get over in regards to how do you actually ask for testimonials?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And it's probably the biggest blocker I think that people have in their minds about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few factors here. I think there's a lot to be said. So, well, the process for us, I always like a warm introduction. That's definitely helpful. So what we're really looking for
Okay.
here is, we if somebody comes on board with us, we'll say, right, okay, what are we looking to do? Sometimes they just want to get some social proof, and so the sector and stuff isn't that important. Sometimes they want to go into a particular vertical. They want to focus on accountants, for example. So that's where we have to go. But always within that, you have to think, okay, so who is most likely to want to talk to us? Normally, I would hope that in the base of most MSPs, there's someone that comes to mind as a raving fan. Often they've been wheeled out for everything, and that's often the same person.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's trying to find them at the right point. We call it that sort of, it's like that peak love point. So basically where you kind of, if you've got a customer feedback system, like a CSAT or something, absolutely brilliant. Because as soon as someone said, okay, great, we've really enjoyed working with you in this particular area. Thank you for helping us out. That's the first point to ask. I think if you're really going to take this seriously, I mean, we're about, the whole point of this is we're priced at a point where it's, you can build out a library. And actually, if you're listening to this, we go well above what you need to do. You could do this on your own. But you kind of want to have a system here where you're building a culture within the business where you're like, okay, just whether it's incentivizing the team in on the service desk or whatever, or just starting to really circulate the work and show, what the results are of someone on the service desk, just putting a simple referral in to say, this guy's just said he's a great, a person has just said, right, okay, we've done a great job for them. Here's a good chance.
Yeah.
So we just after that, that moment in time, doesn't have to be perfect. And then a quick introduction from preferably, whoever it is at the MSP. And then we take it over from there. So I do a fair amount of, we sort of, doing an introduction, being very, very clear with instructions on what's involved, how long it'll take. But another nice thing to mention is that I think people are uncomfortable with the balance because, like if you've done a good job for someone, they're paying you a fair price. You're kind of in that balance, aren't you? Everything's nice. Then you start asking for favors and it kind of, I think the thing is...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like you don't want to sour the relationship. So it's like, yeah, it's just like one of these little niggles. I mean, it's not a major one. I mean, I guess the other piece to this is like, the client themselves, they're going to get exposure. They're going to get brand exposure as well, aren't they?
Very much so, yeah. And that does appeal to some people. It doesn't to others. So I tend to have a sort of some bullet points there. I'll always say, look, you're going to get a whole load of really, highly produced clips, and this is going to look really good for you. But the other element to this is it's another form of, if there's backlinking going on. So we'll be mentioning your URL. We'll be linking back to your website in a whole number of different places across we produce like 40 pieces of content off one chat. The average MSP might do I don't know, like 5 or 10 or something like that. So there's a lot of places where you can link back. So you're getting that backlinking, you're getting that SEO value. And when you start to talk about a few things there, it's not going to take long. You're going to get some recognition, some stuff you can use on LinkedIn, and you're going to get some SEO value from it. Not guaranteeing it, but there's definitely that concept exists that there's a link and the backlinkings help. It's kind of like, okay, right, fair enough. All things considered.
Yeah. Does timing come into this? So like when you actually ask for the testimonial?
Yeah, I think it does. If you want to keep this motion going, I think asking at the point where you've done a good job for someone is always going to be the best. Like, I think I'd like to sort of, I see ourselves probably pairing up with a CSAT company at some point because it just makes such sense when someone's giving you a positive review to go after them.
Yeah.
But we always, whenever a new client comes on board, we normally have no problem getting the first 3 or 4. And then it's, okay, let's get a bit more considered, a bit more strategic after that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're doing, 3 or 4 to start with. This is the monthly recurring revenue question. How does it work from is it a quarterly thing or is it a monthly thing? How often should someone be going out getting testimonials from their clients?
Yeah, again, I mean, our model, unlike the beautiful world of MSP, isn't recurring necessarily, but it's built on the fact that this is something that you ideally would like to keep refreshing, and it runs with the initiatives, and the beauty of these is that it runs over the full buying journey. So it's you can create a full campaign around this. So for as long as you're looking to proactively talk about your business, you kind of want to be sort of refreshing these. I think it's great, if you do one, you suddenly get like an avalanche of content. And I think that's the thing to think about. So when working with us, you get a whole load of content. So you've got to think, okay, what am I actually going to do with that? Yeah, great. We'll give you some beautiful video. You can put it on the website. You can drop a few videos.
Okay.
But you sort of want to build it into your, I want it in your proposal. We want to mention it when we're doing some outreach. There's clips and social to sort of run through the whole process. So you wouldn't want to do like 5 at once initially. You want to get one. And they naturally tend to work this way anyway. If you buy a pack, not everyone's ready to talk at once. So they tend to just sort of spread out a little bit. But it's really down to the MSP. We've worked with some who want 20 at once. We've got some who just want to sort of dip their toe in the water. I think 3 is like kind of a sensible number to make your website start to come alive with the content. But build it into maybe, 6 every year. If you're doing one every couple of months, you get a fresh one. It rejuvenates your marketing content, and it's hugely powerful stuff.
Yeah, and I guess if you're looking, the age of AI, that we're in, a lot of MSPs scratching the surface and how they can deliver AI wins for their clients. So when you've got like a new service line or a new, something new in the stack that you're selling to your clients, that would be the perfect time to get one of these testimonials. So you've done like a little AI automation work or something like that, or AI governance work for a client, having something that's timely. We weren't talking about AI 3 years ago. Some of us were, but most people weren't. And now everyone is such a hot topic. So I can certainly see how like the timing works with what you're offering here. Going on to the media side of things, these 40 pieces of content and media that you produce around these testimonials, that's like over delivering. That's like amazing. I love that. And I've seen some of your things. I think you showed me the content pack. The
handover pack. Yeah.
And that looks just amazing. Blew my socks off what that actually is. So I can see why you're getting all of these referrals for in all these MSPs at the moment. I've got ideas in my head about where I would use it, and I want to bounce them off you.
Shoot. Yeah, go for it.
So the most effective places that you could use these testimonials across your marketing assets. So the first one that I would have would be, I use Calendly, so I get sales appointments in my diary, and then I can direct people to a thank you page. So my thank you page would be a testimonial, or like, a few testimonials there. Here's some information about Scott and IT Rockstars, and here's the testimonials. That would be the first place where I would have it. I don't know what you think about that one.
Yeah, you're kind of, I suppose at that point, you're kind of cementing that is, you touched on something there really, because that is the best use. So you can use these for outreach, right? You can do like cold outreach, and you can say, hey, look, we work with companies just like you. If you're interested in talking to us, great. Still, you still have to build that trust. What you're talking about there is almost like cementing something. So someone's already taken an action; they're already coming to your site.
Yeah, they booked the call.
Yeah, and so what you're doing, you're just saying, hey, look, you've made a good decision. You're in good company. There's other people that have done the same thing, and that is where we see this a lot. So, like for example, sales teams absolutely love this stuff because they'll make a claim on the phone or whatever, they'll be talking about a particular thing. And the way we structure it is like, so the interview, the content that comes out of it is you get like one hero video, then you get 6 shorts, and they're not just like, oh, we'll just take
6. Oh,
yeah. So it's not, and they're not just like, like you see all these Opus clips and all that sort of stuff. They're custom produced, they're basically like 6 mini videos with all their own graphics and all that sort of stuff. But the reason I mention it is because that then gives you 6 points. So we design them so that they start at awareness and they go right the way through. There's an objection buster, and then it's that sort of that confirmation at the end. And so you can use it in these conversations. So if you're having a sales conversation, you've just introduced the idea of concept to someone. You can then go, right, okay, well, they're kind of at this stage, or they're balked on pricing. Well, let me just send them the objection buster because that's what we've decided. So it's actually quite strategic in how you do these things. It's not just we don't just sort of go, oh, yeah, just like that sounds quite cool.
Objection buster. I love that.
Yeah. And so they all relate to a certain place.
Okay.
So I think, to answer your question, yeah, I'd say that's definitely a valid place for sure. And another one, I suppose, is proposals are good as well. Like it makes total sense to have some social proof.
So you embed them in the actual proposal, or just a link out to the video?
So you can. It depends what proposal tool you're using. I know the sales builder guys want me to mention them. So that's so basically you can embed video in those, but other tools are available.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. The other places I'm thinking, and I'd like to know where you think the most effective areas are. I run ads. I love running ads, and I've always run retargeting ads. So if someone lands on my website, or if they're interacting with one of my pages on social media, the pixel basically targets them, cookies them. So I can then start showing those people ads.
This is a free consultancy session, isn't it, Scott? Basically, this is what I'm getting from this. This is like a perfect match-up, isn't it? Go on.
I'm just getting really technical with this more than anything else. So I'm actually trying to give you some ideas. I think that's where I'm at with this. But yeah, retargeting ads and just ads in general. Do you do anything like that for your clients? Do your clients put them at anywhere?
Yeah, they do. You're totally right. And if you're listening to this, then the two things here definitely combine well for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's kind of what really piqued my interest in the first place. Was we started doing this at Sales Builder, just doing some fairly straightforward. I honestly didn't put an awful lot of thought or effort into it. It was like, okay, we need to get some social proof. Let's just go and grab some. And then hang on a minute. So now we got a transcript. Okay, cool. Let's just produce some other assets. That's really, really good. Let's do some shorts. And when we did, so what we were doing was, we had a known audience of MSPs. It was in that case. And and you basically would do exactly that. So you'd have top of funnel ads, but then you'd also have the retargeting piece and all the content. Might be surprised to hear that's the stuff that performed really, really well.
That's the stuff that got the clicks and the conversion.
I'd love you to do. We should do something together where we actually do some tests on this and break it down, because that's not we want to keep super streamlined, do what we're good at, but the bits that bolt onto this are definitely the sort of the ad management and it makes a lot of sense.
This is the last idea that I've got. So I think I mentioned to you last time, and if anyone's on the channel, they already know this. I love webinars. It's like what I help MSPs with is webinars. So I basically manage the webinars. I do my own webinars as well. I do webinars for vendors in the channel too. I've got a big one coming off tomorrow, 6-month contract, which is amazing. But I was thinking last week, I basically run a countdown timer at the start of my webinar that starts about 8 minutes
before I know the ones.
The webinar starts. Yeah. And then it runs over by 2 minutes. So at 12 o'clock in the hour, that's when the webinar starts. I always leave it to run over by 2 minutes so that if there's anyone late into the webinar, they're going to be, they'll be in the room as well before they start. So it's a countdown timer. And at the moment, it is literally Leonardo DiCaprio swearing, and it's really cool. It's from the Wolf of Wall Street, and it's from some lines from that, and it's
just to get you in the selling mind, just get you pumped up, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and there's there's a terrible image of me and what the topic of the webinar is, and I'm thinking, what would be cool in here, as opposed to the slide. It's like it could have like a montage of testimonials with the countdown timer as well. So this could potentially be asset number 41, Jen.
Yeah, no, I do like it actually. And we do, so for people who do 6 interviews, we do a montage. And you're exactly right. I used to do exactly the same thing. So when I was at Sales Builder, we used to do regular sort of live sessions and stuff. Had exactly the same pre-bit. And we made a load of explainers, so we're talking about the product. So we used those at the beginning. But now I know what I do. I would 100% switch them out for customer voices. Nice, short, sharp, not laboring too much, but just how powerful is that? Just literally a series of 6 people just going, this is great. I've got these results, and we 100% recommend it. You're kind of sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? You're sort of brainwashed by the time you reach the webinar to just
exactly.
Exactly.
But it's to hype people up, and especially if you're doing it like in a local market as an MSP. And they're seeing all of these other local businesses talking before the webinar.
That's powerful, isn't it? The local, but definitely. You're right. It's credibility at the end of the day. Isn't it? That's what it's about.
example. All right, cool. So that's my ideas. Where's the most effective place to put these media assets? What's the ones that you see, like the no-brainer ones, like on the front of your homepage? And where do you find
Yeah,
that?
you need to have a good customer section on your site for sure. So that is your absolute number one, is make sure you've got it on there. And there's another reason which is becoming even more important now. So I think anyone who's in any way sort of working in a marketing field is seeing a change in the results from, say, Google search results to more of a chat, unsurprisingly. Yeah. Well, the combination now, and you can go and have a look at, I've been doing a little bit of research on this recently, the combination now of, there's three things: putting video into a text page, so basically to get a blog article, but actually having a video embedded in there that's the same, that's not word for word, but the same related content, and the nature of it being social proof supercharges it. So it's become more, I've just fallen into this. I only found out about this actually inadvertently because someone contacted me and said I was looking at how to do this better, and I ended up stumbling across you because you're doing something like this. So yeah, it was quite interesting, really. But so there's another, so that's your 100% the place to do it. The way we do, so we have a number of different assets, but so we do like a 8-page written case study. We used to pay a few grand for these things back in the day. So having those, in sort of sales communications being, I think, the next major place to use this stuff once you've got it just scheduled on social. It's nice, of course, to have it on social, but you need a bit of a strategy here. And the way this stuff works best is alongside comms outreach, whether it's to existing customers, or whether it's, it's sort of, net new clients. So those are the two things I would focus on.
Could you work me through, could you give me an example of that process? Because that was going to be my next question here, was as part of the sales process, whereabouts would it be? So it would be in the outreach piece, but where specifically? I'm not just going to send a link to a video to someone on LinkedIn. So I kind of like to get into the nitty-gritty of things, like the mechanics.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, so if you're doing outreach, you tend to. So, everyone does it differently, but the way that I would sort of suggest outreach is done is it's a combination of things, isn't it? So you're probably using sort of direct messages, doing a bit of research online, making sure that you're doing a DM via LinkedIn. You've got an email as well. So I think getting that once you've got the initial connection and you've had an initial kind of line of communication with them, then I think it's the time, okay, well, actually, can I just show you some of the work we've been doing? And if you've got...
Yeah, so ask them for permission before you...
Yeah, that's right. And you can do that in email as well. I think it's just really powerful to, once you've had an opening, whether it's a conversation on the phone, you've got an opening line with someone via DM on LinkedIn, it's then is the time, I think, to say, right, okay, let me just show you there's a bit of credibility here. Here's an example of someone I've worked with in your space that's backing up what I'm saying.
Okay.
The other side of it is, if you're talking to any prospects, I think you're starting to talk about the work that you do. So we work with a company who are trying to sell a really sort of new concept into a base. So they're making a lot of they're having to do a lot of educational content around that.
Yeah.
And so there's a really nice moment when you've had that sort of initial chat, maybe had a conversation on the phone, to drop it in, and it's like the perfect cementer. It's a bit like you said earlier on. It's kind of the same principle as the sort of the landing page. They've shown some interest. Right. Let's just go. Okay. We're serious about what we're saying, and here's some people that have done it with us. And that's it. It's almost like fuel for the fire. And then it sits in the background as a library when people start to do their own research. Of course, people do way more research before they speak to a client, speak to a company, potential supplier before, before you speak to them. So that's ideal, I think.
Excellent. Okay. Now, going back to just some of the basics here. So obviously everyone's going to be good at using MSP testimonials now, but I know there's another part to the market, and they like to do things themselves. What do you think the biggest mistakes or missed opportunities someone has, or maybe when you were first starting out doing this, biggest problems that you had doing it are? the hurdles to overcome with, running these testimonials?
Nice. Yeah, that's a good question. I think the very first one is just like, it's just that, I suppose it's slightly uncomfortable, isn't it? And so people just come up with endless excuses, like, oh, my customers won't want to do it. I don't want to be involved.
It's going back to that niggle, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That is the biggest thing, and I think you just have to do the ask. If you don't ask, you're not going to get. And honestly, there's no one in your customer base that you've done a good enough job for that would be willing to spend, half an hour for you. I would hope that's not the case.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the biggest
Yeah.
one.
For
okay.
For
and
sure.
then from I guess from the delivery, I mean, the biggest one that I'm thinking about is like, there's all these owner operators, technical guys. They're going to try to get a testimonial and ask questions and help them get their energy up and ask the right questions. I see that as a huge hurdle, and that's probably where you come in.
Yeah, it is, but I still think there's there's definitely a DIY play here for sure. We do a 45-minute chat, and yes, I get them all G'd up and stuff. But having something is a million times better than nothing. So if you just come at it with, and in fact, I've got if you don't mind, I'll put a link on our site and / it for your audience, but a downloadable toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
So things like just like the questions to ask. So if you keep it, if you know going in, okay, I'm going to be asking these specific questions, and these are some of the gotchas to look out for. Make sure that the sort of the audio is okay. There's key things like obviously with the tools we have now, it's perfect for AI helping you in this process. But there's certain things that AI can't help with. So for example, actually on camera audio is okay. Background noise won't be, because if you've got an AI cleanup sort of thing, then that's going to artifacts will come through and that kind of thing. So I think that's the thing, just knowing a few basics to look out for, so you get the lighting roughly right, the sound isn't going to be a problem, and know the questions you're going to ask going in. Okay, they may not be giving the best performance ever, but if you've got someone there on camera and simplify the edit process, that's the other obstacle, is like, oh god, when I get this back, what am I going to do with it? You can very easily do this stuff with tools like there's Descript, you've got
Descript,
Riverside, all these things, so you can record, and then they'll suggest edits. So again, we go way beyond this, but you can it's still very much worth doing yourself. And even tools like CapCut these days. I don't know if you guys are familiar, people listening, with CapCut, but it kind of brings,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a great editor for somebody. I've got my 10-year-old son messes around with it. It's pretty simple to just go, right, okay, chop, give me some captions, and away you go. So, there has to be some investment of time, obviously, but it doesn't have to be massive. And particularly if you've got someone in some sort of, part or full-time marketing role, what could be better than social proof? Really, I don't think there is anything really on the marketing side that could be better, honestly.
And is this is going to be for those MSPs that already have a marketing person in place? Would you help them do their first set of testimonials, show them the process so they can, do future ones?
Well, we tend to. So what we would do is we've got a kit which helps you through it. I basically just if someone gives me a shout on LinkedIn or whatever, I'll happily sort of talk them through it. We don't have a formal.
Well, do you want to say that?
I know that was a bit of a risk, wasn't it? I can't sell it. You might be my AI bot you get back that's just diverting you somewhere else. No, obviously. So it's not at the numbers where I can't handle it. I'm more than happy to. Because you know what, if somebody starts doing these and they build a library and then the business is growing, at some point they might down the line think, okay, now's the time to offer it. So I'm more than happy to do this. But we don't have a formal service for that. No, we want to keep in our lane doing it ourselves. But I'm always more than happy. When I talk at shows or anything, it's just giving the whole recipe away free. That's what we do. We sort of take that risk. I feel a little bit nervous about it sometimes, but I think it's
giving away the gold.
Yeah, I just think it's for the greater good, and I think it's overall makes a lot of sense.
Cool. I really love it. So second last question now. Where do you see this in 5 years from now? Because you mentioned there briefly AI, and I'm thinking I'll be able to upload my recording, my testimonial to my AI, and then I can just tell AI, hey, I didn't really like what she said there. You just change that.
Oh man, this is like a proper
And then,
rabbit hole if we go down this route.
yeah, and then get a waiver. So like they've agreed to what the changes that we're making with AI. That's kind of like where my head's going with it in 3 or 5 years time. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are like. What's next here?
I mean, it's just you just can't predict, can you? That's the thing. But my thinking on this is that certainly myself. Obviously, of course, I thought about this when I set up the business. I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. Is this going to get totally replaced? And at the heart of it, I believe that a human on camera is going to become more valuable than anything else. Yes.
You're right. This is why I love webinars.
Yeah, exactly that. But you can see the way it's going to go. So, for example, I think our testimonials, they get better each time, pretty much on every release, because the tooling is better and we can package it better and everything else around it gets better. And I guess the quality but you're right. You've raised several issues there. There's things like you're probably going to have a credibility stamp at some point. Because I mean, even now, like if I catch someone that sort of stutters or something, or really, the audio is unusable, we'll use something like 11 Labs and we'll change that, literally like one word just to make sure it's fine. And that, you can see how there's going to be a whole load of copycat, duplicate. It's a real problem, isn't it? And then if you go really far down the line, we're going to get to a point, I think, where we're probably not even going to have websites. We're going to have agents talking to agents, and then that's a whole nother ball game. And
well, I brought this up in another interview just last week where a guy, Hunter, he runs a marketing company in the States. And I was like, how are we going to need a website? It's like, it'll just be agents talking to agents.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not the only one that's thinking about this. I think I kind of scared him by suggesting that, because like, he builds websites for people.
Yeah, that's I don't want to go there in case in case that person's listening. But that's a whole other.
They're still going to need the testimonials though. They're still going to be important.
Yeah, it's just how they're delivered, isn't it? And you're still going to want to have validation, but then crikey, yeah. So I don't have a 5-year view on this, because it's frontier models. Like you've got Claude releasing every 48 hours. Things are moving fast, but I think we've got a good couple of years where humans are still going to be massively important in the credibility side of things.
Yeah, no, I think getting back to your point where the human to human connection is going to become more and more important, and we're already seeing that now. So that's why these testimonials stand out. It's just going to get bigger.
I think there's another point actually there as well. There's just one point to add there. I think it's just the fact that we kind of like knowledge is power, data is power. And I think the more that we're doing these, you're creating transcripts. And then of course you can then, we always supply the transcript. If you did it yourself, you'd have your own.
Yeah.
That you're feeding into a base then of knowledge for your business, hopefully, using something like a Claude or a Copilot or whatever, and you're building that knowledge out. So I think the more data and, information you have from customers, that can only be a positive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's building that context for the context model.
For wherever the market goes, then you've got that hopefully secured for the future.
Interesting. Okay, James, how do people get in contact with you to get their testimonials?
Yeah, we're MSPtestimonials.com. So nice and simple. We're a global brand, so we work with MSPs and tech vendors all around the world. And if you just want some advice and tips, as I mentioned, I am genuinely more than happy just to point you in the right direction. This can be done DIY as well. So yeah, reach out on LinkedIn, James Steele, you'll find me.
Cool. And you mentioned there's going to be something downloadable that people can get in the show notes.
Yes. So I've got a toolkit, which is essentially, there's loads of stuff in there. There's like basically a template for your questions, a template for outreach. There's things like kit list and a couple of other bits in there as well. So just basically it's one zip file full of a load of details, hopefully that can get you on your way with your journey. So if we do, what do you want the / link to be? I'll put that up for you after this. So MSP testimonials,
IT Rockstars.
So / IT Rockstars, there will be a toolkit waiting for you.
Amazing. All right. Thanks for your time today, James. I appreciate it.
No, loved it. I love the questions. They're really good. And great to spend some time with you. Thanks a lot.
There we go.